Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the September 15th meeting of the Boone County Board. We'll start by rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for an invocation from Board Member Welber. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, give us the wisdom and knowledge tonight to do the work of the Boone County. Help us to be respectful and mindful of each other as we talk through our differences. And in your name we pray. Amen.
So might it be.
Roll call, please.
Carl?
Here.
Sherry G? Here. Sherry B? Here. Ryan? Freddie?
Here.
Ray?
Here.
Brent?
Present.
Alicia? Here. Rodney?
Here.
Bill?
Here.
Tom?
Here?
David?
Here.
To accept a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
By Mr. Wiltsey, seconded by Ms. Gieske. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, I'd ask for a motion to approve the August 18th County Board minutes.
Non-posted.
By Mr. Mueller,
Second.
second by Mr. Robertson. Any discussion?
I have none posted.
There were none on there? I think there were.
I'm going to email about it today. Or email.
Nothing there?
Didn't see him.
Okay, well then I guess we've got nothing to approve. Okay. Withdraw that motion in second.
Draw.
Next up, we have public comment. We hit to public comment. I'll call these in order that they were received. Just a reminder that public comment is not meant as a conversation between members of the public and the board, but an opportunity for those members of the public to spend 3 minutes and talk to the board about whatever it is they'd like to talk to us about. So it's not a back and forth conversation, but you do get 3 minutes at board meetings, and we will start it here in a second. Oh, let me make sure that. And then I would ask also, just a reminder for those of you that have not come to do public comment in the past, please make sure you talk directly into the microphone, and then also please state your name and address for the record. First up, I have Steve Hind, I believe. Hindy, okay.
Good evening. My name is Steve Hindy. I'm the president and founder of Showing Animals Respect and Kindness. I live in Elburn, Illinois.
I need your address too, please, sir.
43W799 Oak Leaf Drive.
Thank you, sir.
A few months ago, I attended a committee meeting here to see what could be done about cruel chariatas in Boone County. I hope to see intelligent, thoughtful elected officials looking at the facts and making responsible decisions. Instead, those putting on these abusive chariatas were given a green light to violate their permits and to wantonly commit violations of Illinois humane laws. The spokesperson for the chariatas claimed that they adhere to the animal care rules of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, or the PRCA. That's a flagrant lie. PRCA rules call for an on-site veterinarian, but I have yet to see a single vet at any one of these events. Animals with numerous injuries, including broken limbs, receive no care all day long. An injured animal is supposed to be segregated from others as not to cause further stress or injury. That hasn't happened. It's another lie. Boone County's chariatas include extreme overuse of an electric prod that is banned in the PRCA. Another lie. Animals in Boone County chariatas are used many, many times in a day, which is another violation of PRCA rules, and the overworking is a violation of Illinois humane laws. The permit for which the chariatas for the Chariatas requires the use of a security company licensed by the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, and that hasn't happened. Either nobody from the zoning department or the sheriff's department bothered to check, or worse, they chose to ignore. Lie after lie after lie. Numerous people in numerous offices, building and zoning, the sheriff, the state's attorney, board members could act, all have failed. Now the evidence of Boone County's exhibitions of abuse are beginning to emerge for the world to see. The cruelty, the carelessness, the incompetence will put Boone County in a bad light. But not based on rumor and innuendo, but rather with clear video documentation. I apologize in advance to the good people who are the vast majority of Boone County. But your elected officials have given us no choice. Unlike those officials, we will not turn away. In closing, charges of racism, ugly racism, are now being used as a shield by the animal abusers. Striking a horse for minutes in the face for no apparent reason is cruelty. I don't care who's doing it. I don't care if you're black, brown, red, white, yellow. It's cruelty. Beating horses in the head with your fist, slapping them repeatedly in the eyes. That's not racism, that's cruelty. We don't expose animal abuse based on ethnicity.
3 minutes is up, sir.
We also don't ignore animal abuse based on ethnicity.
Thank you, sir. Next up, I have Janet Enoch. Once again, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Janet Enoch. My address is 43W799 Oak Leaf Drive, Elburn, Illinois. I'm an Illinois approved humane investigator through the Department of Agriculture. The Chariota steer tailing rodeos permitted in Boone County claim to follow the humane rules of the PRCA, the Professional Rodeo Cowboy Association. This claim is false on numerous levels. As mentioned before, there's cruel treatment at these events in violation of the PRCA livestock welfare, as well as the Illinois Humane Care for Animals Act, as well as the stock contractor requirements. When I was there on Saturday, I was told by the person organizing the event that he had a copy of those requirements, and yet I could look around and see that they weren't being followed. There were violations everywhere. In addition to all the beating of the contestants' own horses, the cruelty of the steers, also including contaminated water. They're supposed to provide proper water. That wasn't there either. These violations are Illinois 3.01. And one of them is cruel treatment. And the treatment they were doing to these animals includes beating them, in addition to the obvious cruelty of the steers. And that is a violation of the no owner or person may beat, cruelly treat, torment, starve, overwork, or otherwise abuse an animal. Animals were being injured. That's also a violation of 3.0 owner's duties. Veterinary care is required when suffering, and humane care and treatment when there's an injury or any other issues. That was also being violated. The violations are off the charts and no one's doing anything about it. They actually made me leave because it's private property. They made the sheriff's department people leave as well. And then they continued their abuse. Also, veterinarian is required to be there on site, and the vet was not on site either, which is why the animals did not get the medical care they're supposed to be getting. They're lying to all of you, and something needs to be done about it.
Thank you very much. Next up, I have Richard Wolf.
My name's Richard Wolf, 9698 Spring Road. I'm here because it's been 2 months now since the permits have been issued for these rodeos and concerts. And there were two ordinances that I'd like to speak on. One of them was the music. The ordinance it was changed to where music was to be played when they were doing, whether it was dancing horses or when they pulled the tail on the steer and that rah, rah, rah. Not for 6 to 8 hours straight. I live 1.2 miles from one facility and 1.3 miles from the other facility. When I get home from work, sit on my deck, I'm listening to that music till 8 o'clock. The rodeo rules are not being followed by the PRCA, like we've heard, no vet, electric cattle prodding, continuous pulls on the tail. I have complained. I called the non-emergency number and complained about a concert going on. I have come here to the building department and filled out complaints. There needs to be a site enforcement person. The neighbors are seem to be what is the enforcement and bringing the information to you, not just word of mouth, but actual video. One was from Capron rodeo last month. A steer had broken its leg. The steer was just taken out of the arena, put in a corral with other steers, and then apparently loaded onto a truck, which was probably going to Iowa, Jackson County, Butler Township, which is 2 to 3 hours away. If that animal was not humanely put down, it suffered all that way. It's bull. It's the tailing right now, but in the times to come, if this isn't taken care of, it's going to be horse racing and bull riding. There is horse racing that has and does go on in McHenry County and in Winnebago County. I heard of a guy in Winnebago County that used to rent the steers to the rodeos, but he refused to do it anymore because he doesn't get his animals back or they're injured or maimed. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next, I have Terry Rossi.
Hi, my name is Terry Rossi. I live at 5053 Shattuck Road. I originally came to the board with noise concerns and traffic safety concerns from the rodeo that's right across the street from me. You all listened well to both sides, and I think that you made some very wise and fair choices. I think that we really, you made the language of the ordinance more clear. For me personally, having an end time at 8 o'clock did make a big difference because guests will usually clear out by 9 and then the roads are pretty quiet by 9. But I have returned in the hope that we could continue to improve the safety of the events for the animals. I want to require a vet on site because I watched that horse being hit over and over and over again. And I watched the sticks being used over and over again. And I watched steer go up to water tanks and then just walk away because the water was so filthy. And then when I called the sheriff's, well, no, the rodeo called the sheriff's department, and they came over to talk to me because I've been concerned about the safety of the animals, and they made them fill up the water, but they only filled it a little bit, so the steer couldn't really access the water after that. And I would like to see a vet there so they can monitor those types of things. Watching that man beat that horse, the PRCA would fine him $500 for the first offense and then double it progressively for every offense thereafter. So how much does that man owe? And it would not be enough. I can't turn a blind eye here. I have to do what I know is right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Dara McGinnis.
And something out before I talk.
Sure.
You can pass them around.
so I have my first one. Okay, I've got mine. You know, just.
These all the-
Yeah, they're all the same, so. There might be an extra.
What the hell is this?
Just a couple missing.
What?
Slap. I'm reading it. Can't really read it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know if the microphone's on or not, but I'll try to talk nice and loud. Darren McGinnis, one.
Just make sure you talk into it just because that's how we record it.
Oh,
Sorry.
got it. Darren McGinnis, 10813 Spring Road, Garden Prairie. Good evening. I was hoping not to be here and talk in front of all of you again, some new faces I see, until the end of the year. But unfortunately, some things have come up that we in the neighborhood would like you to know about. First of all, what I just handed out to you, are you able to read it? Can you tell me a name, an address, a phone number of the company? I don't think so. This was part of an application that I FOIA'd for one of the rodeos. This is supposed to be the security company that they were using. This is the paperwork that was handed in with the application. I called and talked to Drew Bliss, and he had said this is what they got, and this is what it looked like when they got it and when they approved it. Very disappointing to see that this is being done and allowed. It was approved, why, I don't know, but it was approved not only once or twice with this company. This company is in other applications so that you guys are aware of. There's other FOIAs here, and they have used this company as their security company. We went through this tooth and nail, and we wanted to have a licensed security company with the state of Illinois. This is Belvedere, and this is a home business license for a security company. What are we doing for our family members, our neighbors? Terry lives so close. We wanted a security company that was licensed with the state of Illinois. We have not done that. If they're getting away with things like this on their application and we're allowing it and we're stamping it approved, what else are they doing? You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. There's other things that I've found. I don't have more than 3 minutes, so I can't go through it, but this is our main purpose for our community, is the security and the welfare of the animals. You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And it's just very, very disappointing for me to see this in the FOIA, and that I get the answer from the building department that yes, this is what they received, and yes, they approved it. I think all of you need to be aware of what they're doing in the office. And it's very embarrassing to me, and it should be for the rest of you, that I have to bring this to your attention. There has to be some enforcement, and there has to be some accountability here in our community if we're going to allow these big events to happen. I appreciate all of your time, and I hope that I'll see you maybe at the end of the year. If you have any questions in the future, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you very much. Last up, I have, I believe, Ben Jacoby.
Thank you. Good evening, Ben Jacoby, JACOBI, 150 North Riverside in Chicago. I'm an attorney. I represent Cypress Creek Renewables, and I'm speaking here today on behalf of Ogdenville and Kish 2 projects in Bonus and Flora Townships. At the committee of the whole meeting on September 1st, we requested a 1-year extension for the special use permits that are set to expire in February. We're really excited about these projects. They're going to bring a lot of benefits to the community, including subscriberships for residents here that will lower their bills, increase tax bases. We're really excited about our partnership with Nexamp because it's a proven company in Boone County, has a successful solar farm here already. And now that the pieces are in place, the one-year extensions that we requested are critically important, due in a major part to the construction schedule that we put on the board last time. And candidly, without those extensions, the projects won't move forward. And after hearing comments from the board members at the committee meeting and the resulting recommendation of the committee not to approve the extensions, we've chosen to temporarily withdraw our application for extensions at this time so that we can gather more information on the comments and concerns that were addressed by the board at that committee meeting. And that's why the extensions aren't on your agenda tonight or won't be considered. And we want you to know that we heard the concerns. We heard you. We take those concerns very seriously, and we want to respond more thoroughly to them. And we want you to have a complete record and all the information before you to address these extensions. We'll be resubmitting, I should say, the request for submissions later this month with some studies and articles and some more information to address specifically some of the things that were raised at the committee meeting. And we anticipate presenting that again to you at the committee of the whole meeting in October. And that's really why I'm here tonight, is to let you know that that's coming, to give you that courtesy, and just ask you to keep an eye out for it and take it under consideration when you get it, and then we'll present it next month. Izzy has the contact information for our developers, and you're free to reach out to them with any questions that you have. They're happy to talk to you, as am I. And we look forward to talking to you again next month. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next up, appointments and recognition. We have one appointment, I do believe. Apologize while I get that up. Meredith Williams to the Conservation District. And I would accept a motion to approve her.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Larson, second by Mr. Mueller. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Excuse me. Community agencies, Council on Aging. I believe Elisa is going to be appointed to that, but I don't think you've had a chance to get to a meeting or anything yet. I think they're still working on getting the paperwork done.
Yeah, they reached out. I have a meeting with them on Monday.
Perfect. Okay. Growth Dimensions. Pam, are you on the line?
I am. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Board. Good evening. I know that due to a very important meeting, you weren't able to attend our annual event last Thursday. We shared a lot of good information that I'd like to share highlight some of that for you tonight. We've been working with the school districts in our community with the Illinois Education Career Success Network. And through that initiative, through this year, we were able to connect them with internship opportunities for 6 internships in manufacturing. 2 students were hired after graduation. 13 students completed certified nursing assistance courses, and we had 60 students that began welding this year. We also received a stamp grant through the Illinois Manufacturing Association. And this will allow us to have 10 internships in manufacturing over the next couple of years. I know those seem like somewhat small numbers to the number of students that we have, the number of seniors that we have, but we hope that these will be pilot projects and seed opportunities so we can continue this work and making that connection and keeping our youth in our community. Another thing that we're working with the school districts is Manufacturing Day. We have one school district that's been involved in Boone County that will be participating. There will be a total of 250 students though, and it'll be held at the Rock Valley College Technology Center. So it's a great opportunity for them to have some awareness of those classes that are available there. We're also In the enterprise zone, we have incentive program. We have 10 commercial projects and 17 industrial projects this year, for a total of about $186 million in capital investment. There's been about 290 jobs as a result. We also have had, I think by the end of the year, we'll probably have closer to 225 million in capital investments in Boone County. This is due to a lot of the projects that have been brought forward. Project Kelly with the General Mills also had a line expansion, a new sugar silo. The Dairy Farmers of America have a new line expansion. They'll be bringing 55 new jobs. We had Crusader Clinic. We also are working with the Heidner Group, which was approved by the city of Belvedere to create a fuel center, but they also have plans for further investment. And in addition, there's also been new businesses and expansions for Cayman Industries, Hemlock Ford, RPS Products, C-Tech Data Solutions, AT&T, A1 High Five Healthy, Murphy USA. A lot of gas stations, I would say, have been revising or restructuring. Jimmy John's, Taco Bell, and so on. So there's been a number of projects. With Project Kelly, we are continuing to work with them on connecting them with utilities and some of the programs that are available. We're following up aggressively with the EDP grant through the Department of Transportation. And through, we've also been providing them with enterprise zone training for their subcontractors. In addition, we've been working with the National League of Cities and the Kauffman Foundation. We're almost completed with the grant. It's going to end at the end of this month. And through this grant, we were able to help small businesses, either provide them with more information, clear information. And this particular grant was also targeting Hispanic businesses in order to help them, provide them with some of the tools that they may not have taken advantage of in the past. So we had expanded our services and provided, we're able to engage with new connections with business organizations that was able to provide small businesses with guidance, one-on-one assistance, mentorship. They were able to help them with financial resources and training. And we were also able to engage or hire a intern that was able to translate a lot of our materials. And so we improved our communications, and we're continuing that process to improve them online as well as materials that are available. We have enhanced our marketing video to include videos. We have the Enterprise Zone program. We have Enterprise Zone benefits and kind of a Q&A training and Enterprise Zone training on instructions on how to complete the forms. We have that available for businesses, as well as we're working with Boone County Health Department on creating videos for general information on food establishments. So the first Food 101 should be available very soon, but all these videos will be available in both English and Spanish. Any questions? I think I kind of ran through that really quickly.
Questions for growth dimensions? Seeing none, thank you, Pam. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Next up, CASA is Mr. Curry. He's not here yet. R1.
Can I mention just
go
something for
ahead.
CASA
Yep.
quick?
Yep.
The CASA is having one of their fundraisers. It's this Saturday from 1 to 4, and it's part of Buchanan Street Strolls. It's their car show. So if anyone would like to go out and support CASA, they have their raffle going, and I think they're going to draw the winner that afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, R1. We had a meeting yesterday, day before, I can't remember. They all kind of run together. One of the big things to come out of it is continued support by all of Region 1 and our partners in trying to get both our state and our federal elected officials to understand the importance of the Stellantis plant here in Belvedere and what effect it has, not just on Belvedere, but on the entire region. We're drafting another letter. Latest one was drafted to Senator Durbin and Senator Duckworth in hopes of trying to get an audience with them to help explain the concerns we have. We're also sending that to Representative LaHood and other representatives in the U.S. House that, affect or are located in this region to help push that agenda, that this is an important plant. And I'll be honest, I feel as though our state and federal leaders have left us hanging and not been terribly concerned. Some of our local elected officials have been championing the cause, but it's been awful quiet from the higher ups. And hopefully we can continue to put pressure on and get more emphasis that this is an important plant. And we need both local, state, and federal involvement in trying to keep business going there and perhaps getting something bigger and better at that plant. And when you look at the roadmap laid out in Canada and Ontario, where they were fortunate enough to get a plant, a battery plant and a new line in their facilities, they had local, state, and federal legislators all involved at the highest level. The Prime Minister was involved, for crying out loud. So we're seeming to have a hard time getting our senators involved. And I don't think that should be. I think we need to get these people involved, and we're doing our darndest to do that. And I want to thank all our partners in R1 for being willing to sign up and sign on and express how important this really is. And again, it's not just for Belvedere and Boone County, it's for the whole region. It affects all of us in many, many ways. So appreciate their support. Any questions on that? Okay. Next, we have a presentation from the U of I Extension. If you could, just make sure you state your name and address for the record for us, please.
Okay. Well, good evening, and thank you for allowing us to have a few minutes of time this evening. I'm Dan Kane. I'm with the Boone County Conservation District, the Executive Director, and I'm also a volunteer advisory council member for the University of Illinois Extension Service with this region. And I have with me today Peggy Doty, who is a member of their education team for this region. And Peggy is very interested in starting some work with educational activities involving water and water resources in our area. I'm also a strong advocate for work being done with the Illinois State Geological Survey. We're assisting them with performing three-dimensional geologic mapping of Boone County, and also following that work being completed, there's going to be three-dimensional groundwater modeling. And once that's available, we'll be on par with McHenry County, some of the other counties to the east of us that already have these planning tools in place, so that our planning department will be able to take that information into effect, so that we can, as we grow in our community, we just heard Carl and some others talking, Pam, about the growth for our community. And, we have to also think about how that might affect our water resources and our community's water supply. All of our water comes from groundwater. And so keeping it both in the quantity of water, knowing where water recharges our aquifers is important, and protecting those areas so that we don't end up covering them all up with impervious surface is important. We can have development, we can have growth, and we can do things to protect our water all concurrently and in conjunction. So Peggy had some things to pass out about our Master Naturalist program, and that's a volunteer program with some extensive training as well, but I should let Peggy have a few words, and then if you guys have questions, be happy to try and answer those.
Good evening. I'm Peggy Doty, 361 Swanson Road in Sycamore, Illinois. Now you know where I live. I should have given you the best. Thank you so much. I know these meetings are long. You're my fourth meeting of today. The last one was a co-chair. The one before that was a train the trainer. I did change my clothes for you. This looks a low level. This is messed up for my day. But I am truly grateful. I know these successive meetings are a lot. I wanted to come. We were invited to do quarterly meetings. You've met some of the people I work with. I am an NREE, they changed our name again, Natural Resource Environment and Energy Educator for the U of I Extension. My unit is Boone. You're a B, you get the first one. Boone, DeKalb, and Ogle. I originally was just DeKalb County. And then when we reorged in 2011, I got you and Ogle. I teach, also I have a 30% state contract. I go where they call me. My first love and degree is actually wildlife management. And now I teach in normal years, about 7,000 children a year. I didn't know wildlife included children when I started. My degree's from the 80s, it's a little aged. My master's is in curriculum and education. So those two things together makes teaching wild children seem normal. I do have a satellite office in Genoa. If you ever need to find me, I'm in Russell Woods Forest Preserve. If you go to the Genoa Kingston High School, they built it right on our entrance. Come see us. I just got a staff person. I now have doubled my staff, myself and one other. So we can take our field trips again with our kids. And we're now open 8 to 4:30 every day. So if you're on a day off, if that is true of anybody, you can come down, take a walk. My career with Extension is now 23 and a half years long. I know I started at 15, just so you're clear. But I have a love for natural resources. I also have a full understanding of where that's going in a lot of communities. And DeKalb being over 80% ag is sitting kind of, still a lot of ag. But we being Boone and DeKalb, not yet Ogle, we're kind of breathing down the neck. This will change again. We're going to start, we're seeing I see houses being built again, and it seems odd. I am concerned in a positive way about how we manage our natural resources. And Boone County definitely has the opportunity to show people how to do it right. I am on the land use committee for the DeKalb County Community Foundation. That was my co-chair role. We have been for I think I've been on there 12 or 13 years, however long we've started. And our municipalities wanted assistance with ordinances to not slow growth, but do it so it doesn't affect water supply quantity and quality, but there was nothing written so they could do what they wanted. We are in a situation that Dan can explain geologically. He's brilliant, better than I, but we are all on this same sand aquifer, and the drawdown is more than the recharge. And so green infrastructure, asking people when they do something to do it well, and being a showcase, that's something that we can do in Boone. And so through Dan, I spoke with Justin, met with Justin, your engineer. He's excited to bring, it's not education that's, beyond, some college level. This is just educating all of us on how we can better take our rainfall management to a level that allows us to reduce flooding, to serve our communities that might not be served as well, help them get, do things on their property, and to it's hard to reduce flooding when you have human population, but you can definitely manage your rainfall. I'm going to retire someday, and I've made a commitment to the rest of my career having a higher focus on water quality and quantity. So working with Dan, I got information. I received a very large grant to educate in DeKalb County last year from an anonymous donor, because I pointed out that though this group is from Wheaton, I got money from Wheaton. They're not even in my thing, because I pointed out we're all in the same sand aquifer, and they didn't know it. Your water's running low just like the rest of us. So they're like, oh, well, that's a good idea to talk about, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing, is pushing the water quality and quantity. And Boone's gorgeous. I mean, you guys have an opportunity to build well and build smart, and I hope to supplement a little bit what Dan knows and be that person. He teaches master naturalist geology for me, does a whole day field trip for my master naturalist. Judy, you've met. She's the best extension program coordinator, and you have her in your county. She's over at the office. If you ever want to find me, she has like the bat phone to my life. Her number's on there. And we are going to do we do it every other year. We do Ogle, and then we do a combo Boone and DeKalb. We don't get as many Boone volunteers. So I'm pushing out to you, because maybe you know somebody. And I want to say it was 2018, we did the numbers. And for Boone County Conservation District, my master naturalist volunteers did 364 hours in 1 year. That's 1 hour short of an hour a day to assist his staff in doing everything from whatever seed collection, whatever Josh makes them do. They're like, they do anything for Josh, anything. So I didn't put together a presentation because you don't need one more. I am that for you. Please share the Master Naturalist coming up. The registrations won't be till November. And if you have any needs or questions, or you'd like to pick my brain on another topic, I don't do gardening. I have hostas. It makes it look like I know what I'm doing. I'm not a master gardener. That's another side of our world. But I do enjoy working and helping solve problems with natural resources. And I don't want to take any more time and just blabber. So thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Ms. Bartell?
Yeah. Dan, when we had our last conversation, we had a conversation about the aquifer here in the southern part of our county. Know by a chance you've been keeping track how much aquifer has been drained by Joliet, Illinois?
Well, there is a large cone of depression extending from that area. It extends all the way out to Boone County. The Illinois State Geological Survey came here about, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, and they did a presentation to a committee of the county board and gave a presentation on what was occurring as a result of that drawdown of that's the deep sandstone aquifers that Peggy was just talking about. And that drawdown is affecting our water supply and our resources already. It's kind of like somebody has pulled the plug on the bathtub and the water's draining away. We can't control that. That activity has happened somewhere else without our input. But what we can do is look at our own community's water supply and start doing some things that will protect that resource for us. And that means making it a more sustainable resource so that even though we know that deeper aquifers are being drained away, it didn't happen overnight. That happened over a period of about 100 years, with the most influence occurring in the last 40 or so years. And it's impacting us. It's going to continue to impact us, but we now have the opportunity. When I mentioned we were working with the State Geological Survey, they were out here this summer doing geophysical work, which means they were doing going across the landscape along back roads, and they were just like in the oil industry. That's where I started my career. I was an oil field geologist. And we use seismic data to determine what's below the ground surface. And then we have wells, and those wells correlate that data with what we collect in the seismics. And that's what they are doing. They're out collecting seismic data. They used our Long Prairie Trail. It goes right across from east to west Boone County. And they also know that there's a buried geologic feature called the Troy Bedrock Valley that exists in Boone County. It kind of comes across through Capron, past through Poplar Grove, and kind of swings around Belvedere just on the western edge. If you know where Distillery Road Conservation Area, it actually crosses right through there. You don't see it at the land surface. It's completely buried by glacial materials. But that valley is really important because it's filled largely with sand and gravel deposits. And that's an ideal place for water to soak into the ground and become recharge. So we can strategically protect our groundwater supply by looking at where the water goes. When we get precipitation, that's what recharges our water for this community. It's not coming from Wisconsin. I've heard a lot of people tell me, well, our water's coming. Think about all the communities and all the wells and things that would be intercepting that water between here and someplace in Wisconsin. That water is being consumed, even though it may naturally have flowed this direction. It's being intercepted and used by other people. And then they're discharging it through their sewer and water systems or whatever to a surface water body where it's flowing to the Mississippi River and not staying here. There's ways that we can mitigate the way water leaves this community, and we can keep it here, keep it clean, and keep it for our benefit. The area in Joliet is now reaching out through the state of Indiana to collect water from the Great Lakes, from Lake Michigan, at a cost of over $3.2 billion. They don't have a water supply. They can't get the recharge there. This water is being recharged. Their water supply is actually being recharged here. But it takes probably 200 years for a drop of water to get into the ground here and end up anywhere close to where they could use it. So it's a long, it's a geologic process. The timing involved is based on the materials the water has to flow through. And so, we're kind of caught up in that. That's what we're dependent on. But knowing what we have here through the three-dimensional geologic mapping is going to give us really good information. And then the three-dimensional groundwater modeling will give us tools where we can say we get a drop of water here. Where's it going? How long does it take to move from here to here? And how deep does it go? Does it recharge which aquifer? And that will give us a lot better information about how to strategically protect our community's water supply. But we're going to need to do it fairly soon because our window of opportunity is clicking past. So, does that answer your question?
Mr. De La Trinidad, you had something?
Oh, no, I was just asking about the volunteer opportunities. Is it just for youth or adults and elderly can?
For the Master Naturalist program,
Right.
It's an adult program. It's a lifelong learner type situation. People usually retire one day and start my program. I get a lot of, I actually have a lot of emergency room nurses, aerospace engineers, all these people that come to me and say, I would have done this, you don't make enough money. So they're doing it as a second career, but as a volunteer. But I do have opportunities, at the Nature Center, we do summer camp, we do, things like that. Volunteers, a little bit older, the scout age.
Okay.
These volunteers they're martyrs. My master naturalist, you have to put your hours in to show that we're giving back. U of I Extension has second only to soil and water, the darkest cloak of invisibility. We're always behind the scenes doing stuff. And our master naturalists, for some reason, have picked up that cloak, but they don't want credit for any of their hours. So they're out there doing stuff. But it's like you have to put your hours in to show we're assisting, like we did with Boone County Conservation District. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would like to add on that. We being the conservation district in Boone County, are extremely dependent on volunteers. And the master naturalist, you don't have to be a master naturalist to volunteer with us. We have a regular group of people that come out every Tuesday. We call them Tuesday volunteers. And it might be anywhere from 10 to 20 people show up and they go out and assist us with our natural resource work. They collect seed from sites that we own and manage, and then we can reuse that. We can use that seed to create new habitat and improve the habitat at other sites. So we're constantly doing that. And although you could go to DeKalb and volunteer, I'd much rather prefer to have anybody who's interested in volunteering coming to our district right here locally. And we'll train you, we'll get you up to speed, and and we take families. I mean, if there's a family that's interested in doing something together, we have a volunteer coordinator that will help get you started, and we can definitely use the help.
Many of my DeKalb residents kept coming up to Boone because they like Josh so much.
Yeah, we have a really great team that does great work.
Ms. Bartel, you had something else?
Yes. Dan, what you were just talking about, as we as a county board, could you maybe give us an idea of how money-wise, what we'd have to do to help you out in this water situation?
We've been very fortunate with respect to funding the geologic study that's underway right now. It's a 3-year study. The current phase, they're in year 2, which is collecting the geologic information. Year 3 will be working on analyzing all of that data and also starting to create the 3-dimensional groundwater modeling tools. And once that's completed, Izzy will then have access to that tool and can look at, if you're looking at, well, how do we develop a sustainability plan for our water resources, for our groundwater, our surface water. And that's a point I'd like to make, is that our surface and groundwater systems, they're not separate, they're connected. And the Kishwaukee River is one of the first water resources that's actually being, where you can see the change due to the effect in Joliet. Again, thinking of the bathtub water plug being pulled out and the water draining away, the baseline flow, that's the flow that takes place throughout the year, but is most notable in the winter period when you don't get a lot of precipitation that would flow as water. That baseline flow in the river is due to groundwater because about 60% of the water that makes up that baseline flow is groundwater seeping out of the sides of the riverbank and providing the water. We are currently at a drop somewhere between 10 and 15% of that baseline flow. If it goes above 20%, then the actual ecology of the river will start to degrade. And that's when we'll really start seeing some problems. So the red flag is already up. The river here is already being affected. And, we're not going to be able to change that, but we can reduce the impact by thoughtfully thinking about how do we protect the water supply that supports that river and the tributaries to it and our own water supply, which is what we depend on for drinking and bathing and everything else. And that's the groundwater. So.
I'd just like to thank you, Don. Thank you for being here. I think that the University of Illinois, their extension unit is something that this county should be taking advantage of more than what it already is. I've gone to a couple of their things. They're very fascinating. They do so many things with the children in this area. So many people come back. And Dan and I have talked a couple times over the years, especially about the water, because I'm very concerned about that. And I think that that is one thing that should be brought to the foreground of this county, that we do have a lot of water that we're sitting on, but it is being drained away by Joliet, Illinois. And I think that we should give Dan whatever he needs and University of Illinois what they need to keep this going instead of defunding them this year. I would like to see more funding put into them. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make the point that our conservation district is self-funded through its own property tax. I think you might be thinking of the Soil and Water Conservation District that you do provide funding for. And I did used to work there, but that was over 20 some years ago. So I appreciate your thinking, and I concur with your thought on continuing to support the Extension Service and the Soil and Water District. But our agency, we've been providing in-kind services to the State Geological Survey. They were looking for local funds. Normally when they do a project, they look for the local community to contribute about 50%, and they contribute about 50% to do the work. In this case, they elevated because of the importance and the impacts that are occurring, they elevated the status of this project in Boone County, and they found other funding to make it work, and they're implementing it with that other funding. So I'm grateful that they did that, and I think the community should also be grateful. But there may still be needs for smaller amounts, and that could be channeled maybe. I also work closely with Justin Crone with the Highway Department and the engineering work that he does. I contribute to the NPDES, which is the EPA's annual report that the county has to provide. We've been doing a lot of the educational work on behalf of the county, and we're going to actually expand that. That's one of the reasons Peggy is here, is she's going to be stepping into that role as well and contributing more information. I know last year the county went through an audit with the EPA, and we're trying to upgrade on what we do. But all the things that our conservation district does that affects the stormwater is what I'm referring to now, stormwater management. We restore habitat. When we do land acquisition, we're putting native plant materials on the ground, and that helps infiltrate more groundwater because those plants have really deep and extensive root systems, and they really improve the amount of water that can get into the ground. And we don't utilize chemicals once we get it established. We are simply mowing and controlling weeds with that practice. And we normally have 140, 130 different species of native plant materials that we put on the ground that are largely by the volunteers. And I know your time is running short, Carl, so I'll shut up.
Sure. Mr. Mueller, you had a question?
Yeah, real quick. What's the average depth of the water in Boone County as far as the replenish, when it gets replenished into the main aquifer that goes to Joliet? And
it's really variable. The question was about the depth of the aquifer, and the most shallow aquifer would be the sand and gravel deposits, largely in the area around Belvedere. If you look around the landscape and you look at the really flat land that's around Belvedere, that's all glacial outwash. So it's sand and gravel deposits. So the water may only be 10 feet, 15 feet below the ground surface, but it's going to fluctuate up and down. And if you look at the water level in the river and extend that, with maybe just a little increase for the landscape, that's usually the topography of that shallow aquifer around, at least around the city of Belvedere. And so 10, 15 feet maybe would be the depth. And then to get to the deeper aquifers, there's several, and it's way too much to cover in this.
But the shallower ones feed the larger.
They do. And so you got to think about, it's a successional thing. The water gets in from the surface, and, there's lots of things that can affect it. Agricultural drain tile can take away that water that's already gotten into the ground, and now it's going back to the surface and not into our aquifers.
You want to avoid covering those up.
Yeah, so.
One more question.
Sure.
Like if you had on your agriculture ground, if you had your native plants and all that stuff, if you had it covered with, let's say, a solar panel, would that create more of a runoff, or would it?
Actually, it doesn't. Pairing native plant materials with solar arrays is actually a very beneficial practice in terms of the landscape and groundwater recharge. You can get both benefits. You can actually get multiple functions off the landscape. If you have solar panels, you can still grow native plant materials under and around them, and that provides habitat for pollinators, which are declining rapidly, and it also provides for groundwater infiltration, which means you're going to get less runoff, and the water will be clean because there's very little to affect the quality of the water in those areas unless they apply some chemical to control weed or something.
Slows erosion and absorbs it.
Yeah, you reduce erosion, all kinds of things. And actually, our agency is playing the role in coordination with Drew Bliss at the building department in terms of when you do approve solar solar farms, we are the ones that are going out and looking at the plant materials, and we're telling them what they can plant and what they can't plant and how to manage it. So we're at no cost to the county yet. We would like to get some reimbursement for our time, especially if that continues to grow. And when you were working on an ordinance, we had been working with Drew and Izzy actually about factoring that in because it does cost us staff time, and we have a very small staff. So that means we're not doing other things that we typically would be doing, and when we do that, we're happy to do it because it's important. But yes, to answer your question, you can get both groundwater recharge and energy off the site at the same time. So we see it.
Go ahead.
I just have to make one comment, then I have a question.
Sure.
But you are part of the county. The county does provide the levy.
No, we have the county collects the levy for us.
That's
We
what
do
I'm
have
saying. But
our
it
own
comes from the
separate.
county, not the county board. It comes from the county. You have
Yes.
a tax levy.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I'm not saying we don't tax
okay.
money. I'm just saying it's separate from what you give to the soil and water.
Right, no, I wanted to make sure that was clear.
Right.
The 3-year study, you're talking about a 3-year study that's going on. The sense of urgency doesn't jive with 3 years to me. I mean, in geological terms, it's not even a second, but still, the sense of urgency isn't translated by, we're doing a 3-year study. So my question is, at the end of this 3 years, is there going to be something practical that you can come and say, okay, Sherry, you shouldn't be, watering your plants once a week. You should be watering them once every month. Or do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do, yes.
Can you translate all that study?
Right. definitely don't want this kind of work to be sitting on a shelf, but it's actually going to be a computer, part of your GIS system, so it'll be interactive. If you go online and Google it through the McHenry County's planning and zoning, they have three-dimensional groundwater modeling already available. You can also look at the geology at any location. So if you're looking at a development project and you want to know, well, is this going to impact groundwater infiltration in any way? You can look and see what the geology is of the area. You can look and compare it to the groundwater modeling tool that they have, and you can actually apply that and then make recommendations on a very specific and strategic way that you would be able to mitigate, impacts. Say you're going to put in a large facility, it's going to have a rooftop that's generally an impervious surface with parking and things. You can plan to route the water, especially water off a rooftop, can be put right into the ground. You can use just like a septic type system. Only water you're putting in, the only fluid you're entering is water, and it's clean, or as clean as you can get. Because, there are some things that come with rainwater too, that are in the atmosphere. You can't avoid that, but at least you get the cleanest possible water into the ground, and so that it can be used in your community's water supply.
So this is, if I can do a follow-up, so this is an application that people can go to and look for the cause or the effect, the cause and the effect before they do something.
You can do interpretation.
Build or
That's
whatever.
right.
Okay.
And you can get training in how to do the interpretation, or have people on staff that.
Now you just have to get the public and, capitalists to understand that.
I don't know if that's my job, but
Support new ordinances.
I don't know if Izzy has any thoughts on that.
Thank
or
you.
Wants to say anything or not. Izzy's working with we have a local committee that's been doing things toward this end and supporting that effort.
Good.
But it needs to go to the next level, so that's where we're at right now.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
All right, next item, accept a motion to approve the general consent agenda, which has some raffle permits, one fund transfer, an interfund transfer of $218,333.33 from the general fund to the employee health fund, and then most notably, donations to animal services, very nice donation from Hideout Bar and Grill and J&J Ventures Gaming in the amount of $5,500 to animal services. So we thank them and everyone else for their generosity. So moved by Mr. Wiltsey, seconded by Mr. Larson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Next up.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. Does that need to be a roll call because of the fund transfers? Okay, thanks.
Not on the general consent. Next up, we have new business. You should have all seen a copy of the resolution 2250, the Safety Act. And this is a resolution about the Safety Act and Boone County's opposition to what the sheriff has been talking to us about for a couple of months now, about how January 1st at 12:01 a.m., we're going to open the doors to the corrections facility and let a number of people out. I know, Mr. Riley, you were heavily involved in this. Any words from you on this?
No, nothing directly. Just the whole thing just troubles me after being in law enforcement 35 years plus. This is just not a good thing. And I think we need to be contacting our state representatives and letting them know that we're not for this, that this, if not the entire act, at least this part of the act needs to be repealed as soon as possible. So just to keep the neighborhood safe. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Mr. Wiltsey?
So moved. And then I want to say that this is starting to hit some conscious levels in the media. It actually made it to Fox. And I don't know what's going on with the other networks, but this is really good. And I thank the chairman and the staff for putting this resolution together. I think we should not only pass it, but send it out everywhere we can.
Okay, and we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Larson. Other discussion, Ms. Geeske, I thought you had your hand up or no?
Did not.
All right. Mr. Wahlberg.
So you're voting to repeal this, I guess, is it?
So the vote is to pass this resolution, which, I don't remember what it all says. Can't read it.
Also calls for the repeal, yeah.
Yeah,
was
it
just gonna
calls
say
for the
that-
repeal of it.
Asking or sending to then elected officials that the Boone County Board would like them to repeal this act. It's your position to the elected officials.
Correct. And it's an opportunity to stand, I think, with, most of the state's attorneys in the state of Illinois and if not all, most of the sheriffs in the counties in Illinois that are very opposed to most of this legislation. And it's unfortunate that our legislators haven't listened to what the people have really been saying. So it's an opportunity. Will it make a huge difference? I hope so, but Springfield does what Springfield wants to. And in my opinion, this is what happens when our representation in Springfield votes with their hearts and not their heads.
At 3:00 in the morning.
But and that's exactly it, at 3:00 in the morning, 100%. So, yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, like the chairman said, I've been working with other state's attorneys within the state of Illinois for about the past year, trying to work with legislatures to bring some changes to the Safety Act. So there's two provisions that are very troublesome in the sense of taking out of the hands of the judiciary the ability to consider on all serious cases the facts of that particular case, the defendant's background, a danger to a specific person or the community, and eliminating that analysis for a particular set of crimes, and that the only way that a court could keep someone in custody is if they willfully are going to avoid prosecution. And it's a very difficult thing for the state's attorney to be able to prove, particularly because they also have in the statute not allowed us to use past missing of court dates as a way to prove that they're not going to be in the court in the future. We can't use that. And then the second very troublesome issue is that if someone fails to appear in court, a warrant would not be issued immediately. We have to send them a letter and ask them to come back to court or serve them with a document to have them come back to court. The second time, then a warrant would be issued. And that's kind of simplifying it into a nutshell, but those are kind of two big areas of concern that the state's attorneys and the sheriffs are dealing with and asking the legislatures to reconsider. Not so much necessarily is there cash bond or not, but just, again, allowing that analysis by a court who's in the best position to make that determination.
Further comments or questions? Mr. Larson.
I don't know if Mrs. Smith would like to add to this, but there's a lot more than just what she mentioned, I believe, in this. Like I had heard for like trespassing, basically people can just move into your shed or something and claim they live there now. Well, once this passes, and law enforcement wouldn't be able to remove them from their property. They would only issue them a ticket. And there's a lot of other stuff, I believe, behind this, right?
I think the particular concern with that issue is not so much that someone could move into your property, but that by just being able to issue a notice to appear, that person doesn't go into custody and can't be held, so that they would be released and maybe they would remain on the property or come back, and that a problem would continue, and that now a situation could be where they would have to post bond before they'd be released, and so that there might be something that a law enforcement officer would not be able to, remedy based on an arrest. It would be, a continual circular situation if someone chose to continue to stay there or go back.
Mr. Mueller?
This is for Tricia. What's the difference between first degree and second degree murder? I've had a lot of questions about it and I just want to clarify.
Sure. So second degree murder is, it's basically that it's less of an intent, but your actions still rise to the level of taking the life of somebody.
But first degree is where you.
It's intentional homicide, taking of a life. The language, I believe, is like wanton disregard, reckless behavior. It's more than reckless, but it's not as intentional as first degree murder.
Ms. Kieske?
I have a question, but thank you for that, because after watching every Law and Order episode I know, I now know the difference between first and second. I never figured it out. Thank you.
And each state defines it differently. So that's,
Well, Law and Order, come on. But thank you. Not that this is important, but who sponsored this craziness? Do we remember?
Black Coalition.
Pardon?
Black Coalition.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And could we make sure that we do send that to all the media outlets also, that we've passed that resolution and a copy of it? Thank you, sir. Next up, Committee of the Whole Administration. Mr. Curry's not here yet, so I told him if he wasn't here, I would go ahead and take this for him. So I would accept a motion to approve the courthouse lower parking lot stairs replacement. Motion by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Wiltsey. Any discussion?
Just with the two rails, right?
Yeah, it's with the two rails at the estimated cost. I don't remember what it was. I have it pulled up.
22,266.75.
22,267.
$22,266.75.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call, please. You have to do a roll call.
Again?
Yes.
Sure,
Yeah,
okay.
for the vote. So this. Yeah.
Sorry, folks.
Yep, that's okay.
All right, so this is for the 10.11 that you just said?
Yes.
Okay. Carl,
Yes.
Sherry G.
Yes.
Sherry B.
Yes.
Freddie,
Yes.
Ray,
Aye.
Alicia? Aye. Rodney,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
and David.
Aye.
Would you let me go back to the definition of secondary?
Missed one. I can miss Brent.
Did I miss one? So sorry, Brent.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, Brent.
Motion carries. All right, before we move on, the state's attorney has kicked me and said she wants to redefine her definition.
Well, I just want to, I feel bad when I don't have the exact wordage for second degree murder, so I wanted to make sure that I had it.
It says kilt or worse.
So basically, it is if you intend to kill or do great bodily harm to that individual. However, at the time you were under a sudden or intense passion due to being seriously provoked either by the victim or another person and ended up killing the victim instead. Or at the time of the killing, you believe that the killing would have been lawful, but your belief was unjustified. So if people were interested in that, I just want to make sure that I gave you the actual wording from the state of Illinois.
That was me.
There you go. All right, next up, I would accept a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement, IGA, between the County of Boone and Village of Poplar Grove for e-citation court fees. Motion by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Ms. Gieske. Any discussion? Do we need a roll call on this? This is kind of a
It's a
contract.
yeah,
Yeah, roll call, please.
All right, Carl,
Yes.
Sherry G.
Yes.
Sherry B.
Yep.
Freddie,
Yes.
Ray,
Aye.
Brent,
Yes.
Alicia,
Yes.
Rodney,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
David.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up, I would accept a motion to approve ordinance 2220 MA-29-2022 ferry map amendment.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wahlberg, seconded by Mr. Robertson. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Okay. Carl,
Yes.
Sherry G.
Yes.
Sherry B?
Yes.
Freddie?
Yes.
Raven?
Aye.
Brent?
Yes.
Alicia?
Yes.
Rodney?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
David?
Aye.
Motion carries. Ms. Geeske,
Thank you, Carl.
before you get going too much, when you get to 11.3, I have a completely reworded motion for you.
Okay.
11.3.
Thank you. 11.1 is a motion to approve claims with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles, on all claims presented from Core and Maine, and all claims submitted by the Boone County Highway Department. Bill Robertson abstains from voting on all claims presented by B. Robertson Lock Service.
Motion by Ms. Geeske, is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Larson, any discussion?
Oh, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Carl?
Yes.
Sherry G? Yes. Sherry B?
Yes.
Freddie?
Yes.
Raymond?
Aye.
Brent?
Yes.
Alicia?
Yes.
Rodney?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
David?
Aye.
Motion carries. Ms. Geeske.
Item 11.2 is a motion to approve a purchasing card for Caitlin Devon in the probation department.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Geeske, seconded by Mr. Larson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Geeske.
Item 11.3 is a motion to approve Resolution 22-49, Genoa Road jurisdictional transfer from Boone County to the City of Belvedere, and an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Belvedere pending final approval from the State's Attorney's Office.
Motion by Ms. Geeske, seconded by Mr. Larson. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Carl?
Yes.
Sherry G? Yes. Sherry B?
Yes.
Freddie?
Yes.
Raymond?
Aye.
Brent?
Yes.
Alicia?
Yes.
Rodney?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Tom?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Motion carries. Ms. Geeske, anything further?
No, that's it for finance. Thank you, Carl.
All right, perfect. Next up, special reports, community building. I don't think we have anybody there right now. UCCI, Dan, anything? Okay. Community Action Agency, no. 911, Mr. Riley.
We had a meeting this morning, nothing.
Okay. Ms. Geeske, Land Bank.
Haven't had a meeting yet this month, so.
Scheduling of committees, Ms. Geeske.
The next committee of the whole finance will be on October 13th at 6 PM right here.
Next meeting of administrative, the whole will be on October 6th, 6 PM in this room. Board member comments. Ms. Bartel.
This past Saturday, both Jim and I had an opportunity to go to AAR, which is where former board member Jeff Carlisle now works. And Freddie De La Trinidad was also able to go there. It's a huge, huge business that is run over by the airport. And they fix and repair huge airplanes. One of the hangars can hold up to 5 big jets, and the other one holds up to 3 big jets. They take them apart, they put them back together again, all brand new. It was very fascinating. I got to see the inside of a wheel well. I didn't know it was that big and it was that detailed. A great time. And this company, AAR, if somebody goes to work there and they would like to move on in that type of industry, the company does offer, if they pass the test, to help support them to go to Rock Valley College.
Perfect. I thought I saw somebody else over here. Mr. Wahlberg, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, just a reminder that Justin mentioned last week that there's 2 meetings scheduled for next week. One on Monday, the 19th, and the second one being on Wednesday, the 21st at 5:30 PM regarding the Woodstock Road Bridge. And that'll be in this room here.
Okay. Mr. Wiltsey.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members may remember about 2 months ago, I brought forward a proposal to allow volunteers in Candlewick to trim county lots to remove some of the debris and vines on trees and so forth. Both the county board and the Candlewick board have tentatively agreed that. But the question asked to me was, well, who's going to do this? I wanted the board to know we would continue to work on this. I have nearly a dozen people now that have been identified, including a master gardener and head of the garden commission and several board members. I would like to get that back to the state's attorney and to the administration so you can see where we're headed on this so that we can bring this to some point where we can actually formally vote on it, which will include me circling back with the state's attorney on the intergovernmental agreement or interagency agreement. Now I will be gone and out of state on October 7th, which is admin, but I'd really like to get this on the agenda for October, the final meeting if possible. So maybe if it was appropriate, we could discuss it at finance. Because by the time we do the November one, it'll be around Thanksgiving and it's getting or almost into the winter season in terms of trimming and so forth.
Super. Ms. Kieske, do you have any issue discussing that at finance?
No, I don't have an issue.
So we'll see if we can't put that on the agenda. Okay, super. Anyone else? In that case, Ms. Bartel?
If anybody has any spare time, we got flooded. We need help.
Gosh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's not good. Gosh, I don't know how you would have gotten flooded with all the rain.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Okay. You know, I do think I know where all the rain came from though, because I happened to be in Green Bay last weekend while it was raining heavily down here. And I think it was really the tears from all the Packers fans watching them lose. Anyway, after that, I would accept one further motion, Mr. Robertson. Motion to.
Can I say something?
Oh,
sorry.
Yep.
Can I say something quick?
Yep, go ahead.
I just passed out the letter that went out to residents about, Mr. Wahlberg mentioned the public input request for the Woodstock Road project. It went out to all the neighboring residents. Again, September 19th, the 21st. If there's questions or if you want to share this with people who are concerned about that project, they can contact the the highway department, the county engineer. And then just a quick note, I did want to just publicly thank the city of Belvedere. We had the Boone County LAPC hosted our annual lunch and learn event this week at the community building. We had Belvedere Police Department presented on shooter training. It was really meant for the business community. We had a decent turnout. It was a good presentation, and just wanted to Belvedere Police Department for the support of the LAPC.
Thank you very much. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Robertson. Is there a second? By Ms. Kieske. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
7:53.